be called to order. Let the record show today is Wednesday, January 24th at 9 a.m. Mr. Pickerel, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, sir?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Madam Secretary, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Flower.
Present.
Commissioner Kanda.
Here.
Commissioner Prince.
Here.
Attorney Clint Smith.
Present.
And Clerk to the Board Kelly Camper present.
Thank you, ma'am. Any amendments to the agenda, gentlemen?
No, I do not.
I have one, and that is an AOP between the Sheriff's Office and several other government entities. And that's all I have. Audience introductions. I'd like you to introduce yourself, if you would, please.
Jackie Bubas from the Sentinel. Tracy Ballard from the Tribune.
Jerry Pickerel from Search and Rescue.
Ann Wilson. Ann Barthard.
Vernon Roth, Custer County IT.
Beth Archuleta, Custer County EMS Manager.
Justine Beach, Custer County EMS.
John Young, Fremont Paving and Ready Mix. Chris Barr, Custer County Sheriff.
Thank you. I think, gentlemen, you have received copies of the January 9th and 10th minutes, and we would like to approve those.
I move we approve the minutes. Did you say both?
Yeah, I believe so. Yes.
January
9th
9th and the 10th minutes.
I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded to approve the January 9th and 10th minutes as presented by our board secretary. Any discussion about that?
I would just like to compliment Kelly again for an excellent job.
Thank you. Yeah, I looked at them, they look great. No problem.
Like all those motions and that.
I tell you, this is like something happened.
I know it did.
That was a long, drawn-out process typing up those, but yeah, they looked good. Thank you for that. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Motion carries. Let the record show the meeting minutes of January 9th and 10th have been approved by the board. Commissioner items. Mr. Prince.
Thank you. I was pretty active during the period of time that we were gone. I spent time with the tourism board. I met with them during their meeting by phone. I happened to be out of town at the time, but I had a phone interview. I'd like to compliment the Sheriff's Office. I attended the Sheriff's Commendation Award Ceremony dinner. It was excellent, very well run, and good tribute to all the officers involved, so great job. I attended the Early Childhood Development meeting. This organization is really moving along well. It's going to be a wonderful boon for our community. It stresses, it's designed for children basically from birth till when they start school to help them get a good head start. A couple items in Wetmore that are going on. Unless I hear opposition, I'm going to hire an electrician to go down. I looked at the plans, and the outlet in the mechanical room is appropriate, done to plan. However, it is not functioning for the people down there. When they hook in a vacuum cleaner things, it breaks the circuit. And I talked to Brad Huff. He said he can fix that relatively quickly and easily, and I have not asked him to do it yet. I told him I would mention it this morning unless I had opposition. Go ahead and ask him to do that. The second item down there is in the mechanical room also, they have a mop basin. The problem with the mop basin is it's 4 feet high. the people down there look at me and go, we're not going to pick this giant
Right.
bucket. So with your approval, I'd like to go ahead and ask Jerry Greenstreet to go down and replace that. That was what was on the plans, that was what was approved, so I don't think we can really go back on a maintenance item. I think it's just an adjustment that we didn't plan at the time that we need to make. I don't think either of those items are going to be extremely expensive, but I'd really like to do it because it'll help the folks down there a lot. So unless I hear some opposition, I'm going to go ahead and authorize that.
Can we talk about that for a second?
Absolutely.
It's my understanding if those sinks are on legs, then they're actually designed as a utility sink and not a mop sink. We have the
Right.
same problem, I think, down here in the basement of the courthouse. I've been in that mechanic room, but obviously I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to that. Can we convert that to a mop sink without having to cut the floor and put a new P-trap in?
I believe that is correct. I was going to ask Jerry Greenstreet was the plumber. I was going to, just because he's the one I know, and if you have someone else, I'm happy to do that too. This is not a friendship thing. When we originally looked at that, they said that the drain, if it was too low, it wouldn't drain properly. Since then, somebody in Wetmore talked to a plumber who said, nonsense, it'll drain fine.
Wow.
So what I'd like to do is ask Jerry to go out there. He's with Rainbow Plumbing. He's a licensed plumber, a very good guy. Let him look at it, and then if he says no problem, we can either just cut the legs off and lower the sink that's there, or maybe we have to order a new sink. But the real important part to me is when they dump the water, I don't want
Right.
the water splashing right back because it doesn't drain.
Yeah.
So that's what I need a plumber really for. If not, I mean, they can cut the legs off and lower it. It's not that big a deal.
Yeah, if that P-trap is below the sink now,
Right.
and if it's on a concrete floor,
Well, I'm not going to...
yeah, I don't know, I can't remember.
Right,
So,
and what they do now is, I mean, it's workable, it's tenable, it's just kind of a pain in the neck. They have to take the dirty water, they go up the elevator, they go to the upstairs sink and they dump it.
Right.
It's not terrible, it works, but the building wasn't really designed that way. We put that sink there for this issue, so I'd like to at least attempt to get it fixed properly.
There's not a P-trap in the floor, so it's on
I
underneath.
don't know, sir. I don't know where the trap is. They originally, when they were building the building, they omitted it, and at one of the final inspections, I was going through the plans, and I said, wait a minute, where's the sink? And they go, oh, do you really want that? And I said, heck yeah, we want it, we paid for it. So they put it in. So unfortunately, it's not as functional as it should or could be. Not a
I
major
certainly don't
issue.
have an issue with pursuing both of those things, the electrical and the...
I don't either. The only thing that we probably ought to discuss, because it depends on where do you draw the line on level of maintenance cost to where you'd have to put a bid out for somebody to compete it.
Right. I think
Because to be fair, you want to, how do you get on the commissioner's good side to get a
no, I
good
absolutely
job?
agree with you that a bidding process takes place. If I'm not mistaken, Brenda, is it $1,000 or more is when you have to start bidding?
That sounds about right.
Okay, I think that's what it is. If it,
Well, we ought to know for
Before-
sure, but that's okay. Whatever it is, we just ought to make sure we're
I will make sure.
giving everybody a shot. if
I
it
will make
needs
sure
to
the
be.
policies are followed before I authorize anybody to do
Sure.
anything.
I knew you would, but
Yes,
just
that's
get it
fine.
on the
No, it's a
record.
very good point, and I appreciate it, because, the bid process is the right way to go. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of electricians, not a lot of plumbers, and,
It's no fun to do it in the winter.
yeah, so, at any rate, I'll pursue that, and if it's reasonable, I'm just gonna go ahead and authorize it. I don't think we need to wait another period of time. So
Yeah,
thank
and you
you.
might ask Jerry what he thinks, if we need to put a permit on that. I wouldn't think so, but
He's a professional, I'm sure, I trust him. If he needs it, he'll do it. If he doesn't, he doesn't.
okay.
That's all I have at the moment.
Okay, thank you, sir. Just bring the board up to date a little bit. We have started work on cutting the door in between the courtroom and the judge's chambers. I'd say we're about halfway done at this point. Tony Supan has been hired to do that. We've got to remove the foundation, a chunk of the foundation for that doorway, and increase the width of our opening a little bit, and then I think we'll be ready to frame that out. And I ordered a door yesterday for that, 32 inch by 6'8". Lujan solid core door, and it'll have a push button security handle on it. So I'm excited about getting that thing done. That's been an ongoing issue for some time. So, and then I'll bring you up to date on the extension position, extension director position. We met in Pueblo and then met again on January 17th here in Westcliff, conducted the interviews for 4 of the candidates. We invited a cross representation of the community to attend that meeting, and they actually had the opportunity to ask questions of the candidates, and those questions were provided by CSU. And then the audience was able to rank the candidates, and then they submitted those rankings to the search committee, and they considered those rankings when they made their decision. We did make a decision. We are sending that recommendation via Bill Nobles to Lou Swanson, the extension director at CSU, and they think that process will be 2 or 3 weeks in the works. So hopefully, if we can get an acceptance to that offer, we'll get an extension director.
If I could make a comment on that, I'm really disappointed that this process takes place outside the purview of 2/3 of the commissioners in Custer County. I recognize it's a CSU position, and I recognize it's their hire, but considering what is done down here and that we're responsible for the assistant, we're responsible for giving that CSU extension agent a room and utilities and all the things that go along with that, I think the process is inappropriate to be done behind the backs of 2/3 of the commissioners.
Set your mind at ease, I was there.
Yeah, Bill did
So there
attend
was
it.
2 of us there.
And all 3 commissioners were, obviously I was on the committee, but all 3 of us were invited to attend that.
Well, I asked about the meeting by phone and I was rejected. So I just want that on the record.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I mean, we do have a vested interest for sure.
Sure, absolutely. Yes, Bill.
Good news is we have the citizens there in en masse, so that was a good thing.
And I'm fine with that, and I'm sure the decision is perfect. I just feel that it shouldn't be done behind the back of any of the commissioners, and I feel that it was when I asked to be on the phone committee with that, and that was rejected. So I just want that on the record.
Good.
Can you give a name on
No.
who you recommend?
No, not until they have made
It'll
that
be a scoop
offer.
when they make it real.
Not until they make the offer,
Okay.
and then they're informed whether or not the person accepts the offer or not. So, yeah, that will be forthcoming. I attended a noxious weed workshop over in Saguache last week, put on by the Colorado Department of Ag. Informative meeting. The office from CDA wanted to basically review the process by which noxious weeds were either added on or deleted from the state weed list, and met some contacts over there. And at some point, I think as a commission, we need to discuss the weed advisory board and what we're going to do about a weed manager for our county. Historically, the extension director has kind of served unofficially in that capacity, but CSU prefers their directors not to do that, so we may have to look at moving forward in that area. I attended the Rotary Luncheon this week as a guest speaker for them, and was tickled to be able to have lunch with those folks and visit with them a little bit. So, and then I wanted to also announce that you're all part of history, because today is our first commissioner meeting that's being live streamed. Our camera is sitting up there, and so I wrote down, I'm going to get to the right one. I wanted to give you that link to the website. And it is custercounty.ompnetwork.org. And that's actually uplink to a YouTube video.
So today, do you think anybody got that link? Think anybody will be on?
I
Did they
don't
get
know.
publicized
If the word
or not?
got put out, it certainly, I don't think went to the newspaper yet, but we
Is it
kind
linked
of
on the
just,
website?
pardon me?
Is it linked?
Not yet. This was kind of our trial run to make sure we had all the infrastructure and software up and running. There will be a link. Eventually, we can go to that website, and there'll be a video streaming link. When I say that website, I meant the county, custercountygov.com.
We ought to ask you what I was going to do if anybody was there. It'd be neat. Please tell us if you can hear us.
Oh,
Is it
yeah.
working? Get some
Yeah.
feedback, and maybe if you put it in the paper, ask for troubleshooting kind of things. That's how,
Go
that's how
ahead,
Microsoft
Tracy.
does it.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, I saw it yesterday, and it was really good. The only thing I noticed was the static.
Yeah, we did have a little feedback because we were trying to sort out and listen and see what was going on. Mr. Roth?
There are a couple people watching it right now and making certain that it's flowing smoothly.
Okay, they'll contact you if it isn't, or, good, okay, thank you.
Can I make one comment
Sure.
about this, please? I would just like to commend Donna Hood, who was the one who made this as one of her campaign promises to go live streaming. It was supported previously. She went out and got the grant for the equipment. And I'd like to also thank our IT department, Vern and Chuck, for getting it up and running.
Good, thank you. Okay, that's all I had. Mr. Canada?
Yeah, I had a busy time since we last. We had a lot of fun meeting all my bosses in the county. And when you do that, you run the risk of having them tell you what they think. And so I heard a lot about the roads. And each one of us do that. Each of us commissioners get that. So I had a good time talking with the road and bridge guys and the people. One of the issues, and I'll talk to Shannon about it, is probably speed is causing more of the problems with the washboard than anything else, because the weather's been conducive to no snow, no ice, so they'll do that. And we've got a lot of heavy traffic on Oak Creek Grade, Copper Gulch in particular, and so the trucks will move on down the road, and of course that pushes the humps up a little bit quicker. So just want everybody to be aware, slow down, and I'm going to ask Shannon if we can just get one of you guys just to go back and forth to be out there. And I'm not so sure, I went out there and I'm not so sure that it's marked. There probably needs to be a few more signs. I talked to Gary about that, just to remind people. There are some 35 mile an hour places in there, and of course 45 is the normal speed around. But you have a question, Mike?
Well, I just make a comment. We have target areas that we work and
Yeah, I know.
rotate our people through, and we do a lot of enforcement on the
I know
county
you
roads.
sure do.
And the last 3 years, our crashes on county roads have dropped almost 78%.
Yeah, it makes a difference.
As a result of the enforcement, but, you know, when you have one guy out there working, it's hard to cover.
And I'm not saying they were excessive, I mean, they are excessive,
Right.
but it's not like they're going 70. Those guys are in the ditch,
But-
and that happens.
And speed in the curves does create the washboards, and
Yeah, it does.
it all feeds one thing, creates
Right.
another problem, and
Sure.
but just want to let you know, we do address it and we work on it.
Yeah, I know.
And then Shannon fields all the complaints.
Yeah, I-
Getting tickets
I
on
know
the
he and I have had a talk.
So it's kind of a cycle.
Sure, go ahead.
Is anyone for like Lake Road that gets a lot of excessive speeding, has anyone thought of putting up one of the solar powered mile per hour?
I've talked to Gary about that. Be patient, because this time of the year, it's hard to do much maintenance that'll last. And so what they're doing is trying to hit the priorities where it is most heavily traveled. We want to put counters out there and having a sign to remind people. That really helps, because they think somebody's watching.
And that'd be a camera up there.
The camera
It's
on
very
it,
normal
sure.
on all other counties.
So we're looking at all those. That's the other point of the reason I brought it up is working with Gary on those kinds of things, as well as it got me into the budget, and I've had a good time talking with Donna, learning our budget process, and learning on the road and bridge how they've allocated in their line items within the budgets. one of the problems we had last year, it appeared that we had been hiding money. That's some of the people asked me those questions. You guys had this money, where did it come from? Actually, it was all in that budget. It was part of the road and bridge budget all along. It just was in a line item that nobody ever moved until at the last minute. So I want to try to get a little more processed. Gary's got a pretty good internal process. Maybe we need to figure out how to get it onto the sheets. And that led me to another neat discussion with the auditor for the county. I met with him, Sam DeBobo or DiNardo. Yeah, good guy. We're lucky to have him, and Paul Paquette or Bud Paquette working also. So with that, I'm understanding what our restrictions are on the budget, how we can move money, and making sure we get the visibility we need and all that. And I know Tom's been looking at it. Donna's been a real good help. So I've been learning there. That's been great. Also had the AOP meeting for the county down at the firehouse. That was good. And we talked a little bit about it. There is a fire, at least until it snowed. We were getting pretty dicey up here. And even these kinds of snows don't alleviate it entirely. So there's fire restrictions will probably remain as they are or whatever. And also met with, at that point, the U.S. forester, or the state forest agent that works this area, nice guy. And he wants to work, and beetle kills all over this range, and the mistletoe, etc. So we do have a problem because those trees are dying and they're going to be fire hazards. And nature takes care of fires of disease. They burn those trees down if we don't control it somehow. So they're trying to work on how they do more controlled burns and be careful with those kinds of things. The Action 22 had they're resurrecting their have a resurgence. Is a better way to say it. Sarah Blackhurst, we remember the last meeting, they had asked for people to be there, and I asked Ann to go, Ann Barthrop in the back. And so Sarah is making the rounds to all the counties, all 22 of them, to talk about what she's reinvigorating, priorities and all that, and I'll get that together for you, and maybe Ann can pull it together, and just sort of a summary of where Action 22 is, and we'll get it to everybody. And last but not least, had a great time working a partnership, sort of, that we already exists with the town of Silver Cliff. They asked that I come to a zoning planning meeting that they had, and I think you were there. We had a pretty good crowd. Shannon was there, Kit Shy was there. It was a nice time. It was primarily there was attendance because there was some worry about infractions on the town of Silver Cliff's right-of-ways, which didn't involve the county necessarily, but at the end of that road is a county road. And it's odd history on it. It's the old Art Hibbs road, the Art Hibbs Tower at Hibbs Peak. He was the first guy up here in West Cliff to have a television repair shop back when all we had were black and white TVs. Anybody remember just black and white? And he put that wave bender in there to get the signal out of Pueblo and Colorado Springs. Those were the only two channels we had in the valley. You could get on the top, on the sides of the mountains, and you could pick them up, but you had to. Never got TV in the bottom of the valley until that came along. So that became by use a right-of-way, and it was declared a county road back in '80. Leonard Rice was a commissioner then, and I can't remember the date that they gave us. But it is a declared right-of-way, and the county road and bridge guys do maintain that. So it was interesting there, and as well as you know, we have an interagency agreement with the Sheriff's Department to help enforce all that stuff out there. That's why Shannon was there. So it's neat to see we have partnerships with the towns and with the people, and so it was a great time since our last meeting, and that catches me up on those activities.
All right, good, thank you. I overlooked one thing, gentlemen, I would like to have a little bit of discussion about as a commissioner item. Obviously, we have hired and brought on board a maintenance custodial person in Mr. Ed Reinhardt. And so we've been trying to work with the other offices to decide kind of a cleaning schedule, airport, search and rescue. I talked with Sheriff Byerly. He did not feel that they needed Ed to cover the sheriff's office as for custodial, but they would like to be able to use him as to work on some of their maintenance things, and I thought that was certainly reasonable. The airport, we're talking about Ed going down there once a week.
I don't think he needs to go
I
that
don't know.
long.
You know, I'm fine with that. Just for history, maintenance at the airport has always been kind of a problematic area. And in fact, I think the cleaning folks that we had hired, the service, prior to hiring Mr. Reinhardt, refused to go down there because it seemed like every time they went, they were told a different process that needed to be taking place. So I would like to suggest that, at least for the airport, and probably a good thing for all of them, that Ed has a list of what his duties are in each area so that there's not a lot of confusion. Wait a minute, you were supposed to do something today and you didn't. So I'm just suggesting that. I think it will help everybody involved. Ed for sure, so he knows what he's supposed to do, and the different areas, especially the airport, to know what they can expect from our maintenance man. So that's just a suggestion I'd like to throw out.
Okay. Good suggestion. I was thinking, obviously, if there is some maintenance down there on that building, minor maintenance, I think he could deal with that. I was thinking primarily custodial stuff.
That's what I'm
do
thinking.
regularly.
How often you'll mop the floor,
Right.
how often you'll do this.
They don't have a lot of heavy maintenance, and if they do, they can get the right guy in there to fix it.
Correct.
So Ed did go down this last week and went through and did their cleaning. So I think he has an idea of the standard procedure. But I agree with you. It'd be nice to get that written down and documented so that they understand, so Ed understands what his expectations are, and so that we understand how much time we're going to commit him to.
That reminds me, I did go to the airport advisory meeting, their first one of the year, and would like to congratulate Lynn LeGree for being a new member, and Alan Butler is now the chairman of that board. They elected him during that meeting.
Right.
That was a good meeting.
Good, yeah. And then I spoke with Cindy Howard about the search and rescue / OEM offices over there as far as the custodial. And I think with my conversation with her, I believe she feels like maybe once a week, maybe once every other week. That's a little different scenario because they have so many meetings in that meeting room. The kitchen doesn't get used every meeting, but once in a while it does. And so we talked about encouraging those people that have meetings there to kind of do as much of their stuff, take out their trash or whatever. But so Ed did go over there and did a cleaning through the search and rescue building.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's just been my understanding that it's been kind of loosely knitted about who does what, how often, and when. So I really appreciate the idea of let's get it in writing that on a weekly basis, this is what our custodian will do, or bi-monthly or whatever. So if it's okay, I'll pursue that with Ed and talk to him about that some more, and we'll try to get some
Yeah, I
structure,
had a talk
more
with Alan,
structure
and
to
they
that.
can set up how they want to routinely do it. Alan Butler.
Yeah, I don't know who Ed met with down there, but he did meet with either Dallas
Or Dallas.
Alan, one of the two, when he went down to clean. So he said it took him about an hour, and he doesn't mind driving his own vehicle down there to do that if it's once a week.
He does know to turn in an expense report for the mileage.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd be
think it's really
surprised if he does, but
Well, I really
I
would
told
like
him
him
that,
to,
yeah.
because it's just not appropriate to drive his personal vehicle.
right. Yeah, so really we're looking at obviously the county building here, the annex, search and rescue building, which includes the offices upstairs, OEM, and the airport. Sheriff's office would not be part of that.
Can I ask Mr. Pickrell, when you had asked about cleaning at the SARS building?
I did.
Did you have anything specific you'd like to ask us about?
No,
Or
it
is this
sounds like it's on track.
Perfect.
That's what we want.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. So I apologize for missing that, Commissioner items. Anything else, gentlemen?
I got it, that's good.
I'm good.
Okay, thank you. Attorney items.
Just a couple of things that I worked on. One was I worked with Sheriff Byerly and one of his deputies. The deputy had a traffic ticket where somebody was really making him jump through the hoops. So I just gave some legal advice on how to handle that, what they had to do, what they didn't have to do as far as providing documentation and everything. So
Now, excuse me, when you said the deputy sheriff had a ticket issue, you're talking about he wrote a ticket?
he wrote a
to
ticket and he had a defendant who was filing all kinds of motions and requests and everything. It happens every once in a while, and I just explained what they needed to provide and what they didn't need to provide. The other, Jackie Hobby was having a problem with a resident, somebody who was insisting, and you're familiar with this, Commissioner Flower, because he was insisting that the county take some action to enforce HOA regulations. And I know you wrote a letter to this person. She had explained to him. I wrote him a letter telling him the same thing, that this is not county business.
County doesn't enforce covenants.
Right. And I also, while I did that, I told him that he needed to behave himself if he's going to come in and talk to her again, because he's had a history of being very belligerent and almost borderline threatening at times when he's come in and talked to her. So I told him that needed to stop. But that's essentially what I worked on since our last meeting.
Good. Well, thank you, and thank you for that letter. Obviously, I received a copy of that and appreciated your efforts, and hopefully that will bring some clarity to that issue and maybe put it to bed once and for all.
That's been an ongoing thing.
Yeah.
From time to time. People think that we should enforce the HOA, the covenants, and obviously we don't.
Okay, good. All right, thank you, sir. Gentlemen, any old business that I'm not aware of?
You forgot, Brenda.
Administrative
Oh,
assistant.
sorry, administrative assistant items. Sorry, Miss Brenda.
I just have one thing. On August 22nd, we have a meeting scheduled for San Isabel at the lodge.
Which
And-
day?
August 22nd.
Okay.
And I sent her an email saying, these are the dates we picked. And she said, could we move it? She asked if we could move it back a week to the 15th. And I believe that we need a motion to do that. So,
Okay. That's Wednesday, August 15th.
yeah.
Hang on one second, if I could just make sure my,
Yeah,
I mean, I'm
sure.
sure in August I don't have anything, but let me just make sure.
They had a conflict, Brenda, or
Evidently, yes.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
you're okay with that? I'll move that we reschedule the August 22nd meeting in San Isabel back to August 15th, starting at 9 o'clock.
Afternoon.
No,
Or at noon, I'm sorry.
Noon, 1200.
I'll second,
At the San Isabel Lodge, correct?
I'll second the
Thank you,
motion.
sir. Any discussion, gentlemen? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of moving the August 22nd meeting back to August 15th, San Isabel Lodge, starting at 12 o'clock noon, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
And that's all I had.
Thank you, ma'am. Old business, come before the board.
I don't have any,
I
sir.
do not.
I don't.
Okay, thank
Anybody
you.
else out there?
New business, as we move into our new business section, if you have not attended a meeting, I would like to inform you that we will allow public comment for each item that we will be voting on, and that you will have an opportunity to have public comment prior to those votes. So, our first item was the extension position update. I think I covered that in the commissioner items. So,
You said 2 weeks or so.
2 to 3 weeks is what they were estimating that we would, CSU would be in a position to make an offer. Next on the item is a vacuum cleaner exchange. Mackenzie Huffman, representing Mountain Maids, sent me a text or an email and asked if we would be interested in exchanging our two I will call them household vacuums for her commercial vacuum that she had recently purchased, really for the purpose of cleaning the courthouse. We were one of their few commercial accounts, and she said that vacuum that they have is really too big for her people to load and unload out of vehicles and carry into their house. So Miss Brenda provided me with a copy of the receipts of the 2 vacuum cleaners that we purchased for a total of $564. And then Mackenzie gave me her invoice from the vacuum that she purchased, and it was $528. So we're looking at roughly $26 difference, as it turns out. I spoke with Ed Reinhardt. He didn't, of course, had not seen the commercial vacuum, but certainly thought that one good commercial vacuum sounded reasonable to him versus the 2 household vacuums that we have. Mackenzie also told me that commercial vacuum has a cord on it that you probably plug in once and vacuum the entire first floor of the courthouse.
Can he handle it? It's not too big for him, is it?
No, I wouldn't think so. So I think dollar-wise, we're very comparable as it turns out.
You're below the threshold too, so it's whatever. I think it's a great idea.
So, yes, ma'am.
Just Ed came in this morning and he's been using the vacuums that we have, and he said they're sort of nice because they're smaller. He can get underneath chairs, so it might be worth him looking at the other one before he
maybe bring it and try it. I'm sure Mackenzie would agree to that, so that he had a sense of what it's like, and that's a great point. Thank you, ma'am. Did you receive copies of this invoice?
Was it on?
Yeah, email.
Yeah.
Okay.
I saw the sheet. I didn't look at the numbers.
Yeah. Yes, sir, Mr. J.
Why is this even a commissioner item?
Yeah.
Well,
Is it taking care of maintenance?
believe me, with the new maintenance man coming on, he was not going to make this decision. And
Well, I understand, but he could come to you and say, this is what I'd like to do. I think this is certainly something that we don't need to take commissioner time for something this.
Well, I don't know who else would make that decision. Ed would not make it because,
You could.
well, I'm certainly capable of doing that.
Okay,
but-
I'm just thinking about
Unless the threshold is $10
$22
and
to
then
exchange.
Right.
it's a $10 deal.
It seems like
we're gonna have to fix the
I happen to disagree. I think it is a commissioner item. I
Okay.
don't want to beat it to death.
And
But
that's
I
fine.
certainly, if you direct me to decide whatever I think's best for the county, I'll be glad to do that. But
that
I
is not
certainly
what I'm
wouldn't
suggesting at all.
do that on my own.
You have to take, you look at each case individually and decide.
Yeah, there's something.
Okay, so I'm fine. I like Brenda's suggestion about trying out the new one and let Ed tell us what he wants. And if he likes the new one, let's do it. If he doesn't, let's keep it the way it is, and I'm fine with that. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I'm just wondering why we're spending time with this.
Yeah, well, it's county property, number one, so I certainly was not going to
That's
delve
fine.
off into that without
No problem.
the commissioners being up to speed on that. So I will contact Mackenzie and have that discussion with her. Maybe we can bring it over and let Ed try it for a day or
That's a
two.
great idea.
And then if
He
he
may not like
and
it.
I feel it's okay, you gentlemen, you're all right with making that swap?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. Marijuana impact grant application. Mr. Barr, welcome. How are you doing this morning, sir?
Sheriff, how are you?
So you're growing in marijuana, are you?
Yeah, working on it. So, Jay, you're familiar with this. So, this grant, in January, we applied, well, probably about 6 months ago, we applied for a marijuana grant. Basically, this is given to rural counties for investigation and prosecution.
For counties that do not have a legal marijuana law, correct?
Well,
Or is that-
yeah, this is only on illegal grows.
Right.
And so I ran it from January to June. We applied for 4,800 and some change, and we got that grant. That was awarded to us just a couple weeks ago.
Great.
And so then this is a continuation from June 1st to October 31st on in any illegal raids that we did. And so during that time period, we didn't have any in the county, so to speak, that were ours, only ours. They were all in the U.S.
Shared,
forest.
huh?
So we, of course, helped out with those raids. So all I could really claim on this was manpower hours and overtime and a cost of equipment that we lost. Mainly uniforms get destroyed when they're on those. I mean, it's nasty, dirty work, destroying those plants. So this is just a continuation. I'm asking, and it really doesn't require the county commissioner's signature. It's merely so you know about it. The grant's actually already been submitted, but I'm asking for $1,200.
68.65.
Yeah, so it was for overtime hours. We had 3 deputies lose pants that got torn or destroyed with crud on them. But just give you a little bit of heads up, and I know you guys got this, but we had 4 raids, a little over 25,000 plants in our U.S. forest, all mostly on the 165 corridor. We're being told already by the U.S. Forest that they'll have at least 5 or 6 coming up this summer that they know about.
It's better sun down there, is it?
I guess. I don't know. Maybe more secluded. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, anyways, this is just to give you an oversight of it, that it's already been submitted. My guess is we'll get it. And I did reach out to the district attorney's office when I did the first grant and asked them to work with me, because they could actually do the prosecution part of it, but they, at that time, were not interested. And the ones we had over the summer, of course, weren't done by the district attorney's office. They're done by the U.S. Attorney General. So, anyway, it's worth get. I think the rural counties are getting this money. There's like $6 million in this fund. So, unfortunately, I got higher back on the last one because we ended up buying a Connex out of it to store all the evidence that we collected on Little Bear. But we didn't have that opportunity this time. So,
Quick question, Chris. You said the DA's office wasn't interested? What does that mean? They weren't interested in prosecuting?
they thought when I reached out to them, they just didn't have any interest in going in and doing all the research required on the prosecution side of it, and that's their option. They'd have to do all that research on their side. I can't really access that. And so I got really no response from them.
So does that mean if you make less, they're not going to prosecute?
No, that's not what that
Misunderstood?
means.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
It means that they weren't interested in this grant.
Oh, in the grant.
For pennies that
Got
they
it.
would
to get a few bucks to help.
Right, and so this requires tons and tons of research.
Good clarification.
And so yes, they're interested in prosecuting it. I don't want
I
that
just wanted to clarify that.
They're just not interested in the grant because in all reality, it takes tons and tons of research and
Gotcha.
For
Thank
whatever
you,
reason.
guys.
So I look here at this grant, looks like 55 and a half hours plus uniforms.
yeah.
Good, okay. So you do not need a signature.
I don't. It's just so that you guys are aware. I have to present it to you guys.
And this is the gray and black market marijuana enforcement
Grant program.
Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay.
And I'm guessing that we'll get this 2-3 times a year every year.
Sure.
And that's
State of
from
Colorado's big on it.
Department of Local Affairs.
Yep, from DOLA.
Yep, good. All right, sir, thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it.
See you right dinner the other night.
No, thanks.
Wonderful deal.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Be
guys.
careful.
All right.
Keep up the good work.
Next on our agenda is opening the bids for gravel crushing. Did I see Mr. Hyde? I did, by golly. Welcome, sir.
He's hiding.
Blame him.
He's sitting here.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Good to see you.
Hey, Gary. So you have a couple of bids, huh?
Brenda's got those.
Okay. And we have a representative here from Fremont Asphalt and Paving, Mr. John. Thank you for being here, sir.
Thank you.
Nice to have you.
You want to do the honor?
What's your last name?
Let's let
Young?
Yes, sir.
if Attorney Smith would care to open those, that would be great.
Go
How many tons are you looking at crushing, Mr. Gary?
30,000.
30,000. Before summer season starts, I'm assuming, huh?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So probably between now and May or June.
Mm-hmm.
Out where?
Out here south on Rosita
On the
Road.
Rosita Road.
Yeah, the county's gravel pit.
They didn't want you up there.
What company is currently doing it?
You want a sharp knife?
Fremont Paving did
Using a
last
fingernail
summer. I
file.
think that was about 3 years ago.
You don't do this every year.
Now, last time they did like 60 or 70,000 tons, so it didn't need to be done for about 3 years. That got us through for about 3 years. Now our stockpiles start to get pretty low, so we're going to have to get some more crushed
Thank you.
pretty soon.
Okay. First one, the envelope says A&S Construction Company out of Canyon City.
A&S?
A&S.
And that's Fremont Paving.
It is.
Okay.
It is.
Contractor's proposal, 2018 crushed gravel bid form, Custer County Board of County Commissioners. The undersigned, having familiarized themselves with the local conditions and specifications affecting the cost of the work, hereby proposes to furnish all labor, materials, necessary tools, expendable equipment, and all utility and transportation services necessary to perform and furnish the following material for Custer County, all in accordance with the specifications for the sum set forth in the attached bid schedule. Description: 1 inch minus aggregate base course. Location: South Pit. Quantity: 26,000 tons. Cost per unit: $2.47. Total cost: $64,220. And then the next description: 5/8 inch minus chip seal rock. Location: South Pit. Quantity: 1,400 tons. Cost per unit $9. Total cost $12,600. Total bid amount $76,820. If awarded this contract, the undersigned agrees to follow Custer County basic safety policies and comply with Mine Safety and Health Administration Regulations 30, Part 46. The undersigned agrees to follow approved mining plan for the South Pit. Custer County reserves the right to reasonably adjust the schedule as necessary to accommodate the Road and Bridge Department work plans. The quantity to be crushed may be adjusted depending on the unit cost provided by the bidder. Custer County will require the successful bidder to enter into an agreement for services. And this is signed, the company name A&S Construction Company, company representative name Bill Flowers, with an address on Mackenzie Avenue in Canyon City, and it's signed by Mr. Flowers. This is dated January 12, 2018.
Could I get that ton from you again?
Which is 26,000
26,000
tons and 1,400. Next, I have an envelope from Mountain TMB, Mountain Publishing Company, Sangre de Cristo Sentinel. This is an invoice that says no.
I thought you had one extra envelope.
When did the
I didn't even look at it, I'm like,
Let's take that.
It's a new line of work.
The Sentinel's in the crushing business.
This is from Colorado Crushing, Inc. in Beulah. Proposal, January 4, 2018. To whom it may concern, we at Colorado Crushing, Inc. are proposing to crush and stockpile the following material for Custer County at the South Pit. Minimum of 26,000 tons, 1 inch minus aggregate base, $2.65 a ton. 1,400 tons, 5/8 inch minus chip seal rock, $8 a ton. There's no total on these. This price includes mobilization, crushing, demobilization, and stockpiling of the material outlined in the terms. We agree to review and follow Custer County's basic safety policies and procedures. We are always up to date and in compliance with MSHA regulations for Part 46, as well as Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment's regulations for permitting of portable mining equipment. Thank you for your time and consideration. It is greatly appreciated, and we look forward to doing business with you. Thank you. Rocky Ryan, Colorado Crushing President. So,
Clint.
Rock is the right name for a crusher.
Those
I'm
dollars,
gonna throw that out.
It's a good one.
Can you give me that price per ton on the 26,000 again?
the 26,000 was $2.65 a ton. The 1,400 tons was $8 a ton.
and those total dollars for the 1-inch minus 68,900, and the 5/8 minus chip seal 11,200.
70,000.
So
Say that again, Tom. the first.
68,900. For a total of $80,100.
Same tonnage.
Yes.
God bless you.
Thank you.
They bid the same exact tons.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Mr. Hyde, how would you like to proceed?
Well, we're looking at about 4,000. Well, just under $4,000 difference if your numbers are consistent with mine. So, I suggest we go with Fremont Paving on their bid for doing the gravel crushing for us, and not necessarily on a set amount. What we were striving to do is stay within $100,000. That's what we had budgeted to do the gravel crushing. So, I would say that we should go with Fremont Paving to have our gravel crushing done at $2.47 for the 1-inch minus, and then for the 5/8 minus chip seal rock to $9 a ton.
Okay.
And then just kind of leave it open-ended, and whatever we can.
Make sure they stay with the same price.
Correct, right.
They
They
will. Write it. You got to write it into the
No, they
contract.
will, since
We will.
Yeah.
I know you will. I'm just
contract.
covering the bases here. You know. Well, we're here now. It's going to be $20 more.
No, they won't do
Oh, I
that.
know. I'm teasing.
Only on Sundays.
Only on Sundays.
Mr. Prince, do you have a question, or?
No, I was gonna just make a motion.
Okay.
I'll move based on the lower amount and the recommendation from our road and bridge supervisor that the county award the contract to A&S Construction out of Fremont at the prices based upon the bid that they submitted to us.
I second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to award the bid to A&S Enterprise out of Canyon City, also doing business as Fremont Asphalt and Paving, at the rate of $2.47 per ton for 1-inch minus and $9 per ton for 5/8 minus chip seal. Any discussion about that?
Just a quick question. Road base, you're looking at that as less than 1 inch. Is that where you're pulling it, or how you getting road base out of that? You going to separate it down?
That's a good question for John. As far as doing the chip and the road base at the same time, it's
So that's included in the price, right? You're going to have 3 different piles.
You're gonna have two.
two.
The 1 inch is the road base.
Okay, so you're calling that through. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And you're pulling the rocks out.
Yeah, we're pulling rocks out of it for the chip.
Okay.
And the primary reason for the significant price difference between 1-inch and 5/8 minus,
Chips takes a long time to make.
does it?
Yes, sir.
A lot of grinding.
Huh?
A lot of grinding.
Yeah, it's just, it's a lot more critical with chips.
Thank you. Further discussion, gentlemen? Comments from the public? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of awarding the bid to A&S out of Fremont County, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks
Thanks
for
for
you.
being here, John.
And I appreciate you coming up here.
No,
It's really nice of you to do that.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, you bet.
Congratulations.
Appreciate
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks a lot.
You bet.
Thank you, Mr. Hyde.
Thank you.
Have a good afternoon.
You too.
Good to see you, my friend.
Thank you, Gary.
Take care.
Ms. Camper, transfer of funds?
Okay, this is, this is some more of my book restoration fund. Jay was in on that previously, and the both of you weren't, so I'll kind of bring you up to date. Part of the money that we get, that we collect in the clerk's office, part of our recording fees, goes into a fund that we can use for book restoration or other recording stuff. And so when Debbie was still in office, she set that all up and we've used quite a bit of it to restore all of the, not all of them, some of the old books in the back that were starting to fall apart from being handled and all that. They came and put them in nice covers and plastic sleeves and just to preserve those. And then the other part of the project was we had a company come in and actually scan all of those books back there so that we not only will have that online at some point, but if something were to ever happen, we have those books.
Copies.
Yes. So this that I'm doing today will probably be the end of the scanning process. That we had about 12 books left over that we needed to do, and the company that does it was actually over in Alamosa, and there was a few of us counties that just had a few books left, and so it was easier for us to bring the books to them. So we took the books over there, they scanned them, and I got the bill for that a couple weeks ago, and it is $3,245.42. And so we need to do a transfer from the book restoration fund back into county.
So they can write a check for that.
So that they can write a check for that.
I'll move that we make that transfer to allow that to be done. That funds are already in place. It's just a moving from one account to another.
Okay, yes, second the motion. It's been moved and seconded to transfer $3,542.
$32.45.42.
Sorry, I had it backwards. $32.45. $3,245 from the book fund back into the general fund.
And 42 cents.
And 42 cents, sorry. $3,245.42 from the book restoration fund back into the general fund so that that bill can be paid. Further discussion?
Sounds good.
Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, ma'am.
Can I ask a question while we're talking with Kelly? Kelly, have you seen any, have you had any feedback about changing the hours in your department back to 8 to 4, reducing that last hour that we did a few months back?
No, nobody's really mentioned it.
Great. That's what I want to know. Thank you.
And you still have one employee on hourly. Is that correct in your office?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Voting precincts, Ms. Kemper.
This is something that came up just recently. Part of statute is that every odd year, no, even year, we have to look at our voting precincts and they have to stay under a certain number. So in smaller counties, that number is 1,500, up to 1,500 per precinct. You can, with commissioner approval, go up to 2,000. So I looked at that, and in, I have one of these for each of you. And one for Clint if you want to pass him. So these numbers to the left here, the very last number, the 1, 2, and 3, that's the precinct number. So precinct 1, right now we have 1,830 voters in that precinct. And that precinct basically is to the south and to the east a little bit. Precinct 2 is mainly in Wetmore, that area there it starts at McKenzie Junction and works its way that way. We have 384 in that precinct. And then precinct 3, which is the north part of the valley, north and west, we've got 1,318. And these are just active voters. We have to base it on active voters. So
Off of just the last election or what? How's it work?
current, off of your current, what your current
Voter
Okay,
voter
what the
registration
registration
is.
shows.
Yeah. So I looked at that. Actually, I looked at this probably a month ago. And to do changes, obviously precinct 1, we need to adjust that a little. But to do changes now, they have to be done by February 8th, I think it is. To do that now would be a huge undertaking. So I talked to Secretary of State's office, and they felt that the 1,800 is not that much above the 1,500, and just that at this time it would be best to come to you guys and get your okay that we can just stay with that. The next time that we can look at changing that is in 2020, I think is what she said. Let me look here. Yeah, 2020. Because of the census, because we will use a lot of the census figures in that. And redistricting happens that time. The redistricting for your, like your
Correctional.
representatives and all that. That will happen at the same time. So we would actually have to wait till after the census and after the redistricting. And so these numbers, obviously they change sometimes on a daily basis, but these will remain this way until after the general in 2020. And then we'll readjust.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead.
I'm just a little confused, and maybe you said it and my mind was off and go. What is the purpose of keeping it under 1,500 and up to 2,000? I mean, what is the purpose of, and how do you do that? Do you just move some people from 1 to 2 or 2 to 3? And is it a redistricting type thing so that it's a more equitable vote?
You know,
I'm confused.
a lot of it has to do with your.
To travel to the polling place or something?
A lot of it has to do with polling places, which we don't have anymore.
Right.
It's almost kind of, I think eventually maybe will go away because things have changed so much in how people vote and all that.
Yeah, by mail and all that.
Right. And you can adjust, you can move your lines, or you can add a whole other precinct. When I look at our map, I think it would probably be easier to adjust some lines because, like in San Isabel, that's all precinct 2. No, that's not all precinct 2. Everything to the, I gotta think how the map is. Everything to the east of Highway 165 goes to precinct 2, but to the west goes to precinct 1, which makes no sense to me because those people are in San Isabel. They should go probably to precinct 2.
Yeah, it'd be
So
easy.
yeah, so I think it would be an easy adjustment, and that would probably be the best way to handle it.
And that adjustment would take place in 2020?
After the 2020,
Census.
yeah, and the redistricting and all that. Yeah.
I'm fine with your recommendation,
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah, my understanding is that the county has the authority to set those district boundaries, precinct boundaries, sorry. That's not a state statute. That's
Right,
county.
it's county. And you guys, like, when we would do this, after all this happens in 2020, we would figure out the boundaries and then you guys actually approve those.
Yep.
That's approved under you guys.
And for our information, can you go across the top for your abbreviations for those parties, ACN, and tell us what those are.
ACN is, what is ACN? American Concert, I cannot think of what that
I
is.
think it's the American Constitutional.
Oh, yep, that is what it is, yeah.
American
What's the
Constitution.
Ma'am?
Is it American
American
Constitution?
Constitution.
Yeah, that's my understanding.
And then the Democrat, Green Party, Liberal, Republican, and unaffiliated.
What's Union?
I don't know what that, Unity Party.
Yeah.
There is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
That's
have
very
one.
big up here.
It is very big.
Wonder where he lives.
Thank you, ma'am.
LBR is libertarian, not liberal.
Yeah, libertarian.
Yeah.
Do we need any action or
You're right, libertarian.
handle this as a report? What do you expect? You don't need an action from the board.
No,
Info only.
I think that just to make you guys aware of that and that you're okay with doing that, I think we can do
Well,
that.
you made a recommendation, and I think the consensus is that we accept the recommendation, and leave it as it
Good
is, and we'll
report.
look at it in 2020. I don't think we need a motion for that, but I'm
No.
fine.
Thank you, ma'am. Our EMS people had to cut out, so I think they left their paperwork with Miss Brenda.
She left the paperwork.
The RETAC grant and licensing information.
It looks like there's one RETAC grant application from the EMS and one from the sheriff's office. And then, I don't know, this is just some other information for that.
Okay.
So,
All right, we'll take a look at that paperwork.
You have to sign something sometime.
Yep.
This is pretty standard. We've done this on a continuous basis to help them.
Oh, she's back, good.
How did you time that?
Thank you. It was just a welfare
go.
check on
Good
an
morning.
infant, so I'm sorry about that.
No problem.
I'll stand if you guys are okay with that.
Sure, yeah. We were just looking at the
Which
grants.
ones are we, the grants, okay?
Why don't we start with the smaller of the two?
On $1,700.
Well, yeah, I was thinking of the number of pages,
Oh,
but that's
sorry.
fine. This happens to be $1,500, so.
I thought you meant the amount.
Yeah, they're not identified separately. I mean, it looks like the title is the same on both of them, so.
Right, so and I brought paperwork, so that's information for you guys on the process of the RETAC grant process now. As Mr. Prince is aware, they changed it back in July of how Custer County receives their RETAC funds. It used to be the county would get a check for $15,750 in like July and then $750 6 months later. And so they've changed it. There was some misappropriated funds up north and the state passed it down to the other counties that it had to, the regional RETAC had to be the holders of that money. So Custer County in a whole gets $13,000 for the whole fiscal year. We've wrote various different grants for various different things. Search and Rescue did a wilderness one. RETAC has helped us out with stair chairs. They've helped out the Sheriff's Department for Narcan kits for the Sheriff's deputies. And so I'm requesting, we have a little over $3,300 and some left. So I'm asking for half of our medical director, which is Dr. Weber's fees, is $1,500 for this year. And then I've also been working with Paula to try and get the AED's maintenance for the Sheriff's Department, AED pads and AED batteries, to get those AEDs up and running properly. A lot of the time the Sheriff's Department's the first man on scene for us. They need to have proper running AEDs. If they slap those on, they need to be properly running. We did attempt a Walmart grant for the AED stuff. It might have been before them. So we did attempt that. It's been past 90 days. Walmart didn't approve that for the Custer County Sheriff's Department. So with part of the leftover funds from RETAC, I'm working with Paula to request that those AEDs get maintenance, the AED pads that are currently, that need replaced, and then there's 4 units, I believe, that need 8 new AED batteries.
Okay, so let me understand the process. Just I'm gonna spit it back. We got a bank with $13,000 in it, held at a regional district, and this is asking, this is a check to go draw on that. And so you're asking for, and is that the total 13,000 is what's available now, or is there?
No,
what's available?
I wasn't able to attend the RETAC meeting that they just had last week, but Brendan Chambers, who is the RETAC coordinator, was up yesterday. There's a little over $3,300, so these two should be covered under that.
So when do they supply?
July.
Oh, we gotta wait till July. So there's, so we're gonna burn it up basically.
Yeah, and it has to be. I mean, it has to. Actually, all the grants were supposed to be submitted by December. So
Cool.
to use those funds, they've really changed the process on how we get the funds and how we use the funds. Like I said, that was passed down by state.
So roughly, there's how
regional
much left?
A little over
33.
3,300. I don't have the exact amount, but
And as I look at these, then it looks like it asks the amount you're requesting from RETAC, $1,765. That would come out of the 3,300.
right.
And then the amount that you are contributing, is it zero on both? I'm
No,
sorry.
we're contributing $1,500 on our side
Okay.
for half of Dr. Weber's fees. His total fees to be our medical director for Custer County EMS is $3,000 a year.
And that 1,500 that we are contributing comes out of
EMS funds.
EMS funds. Thank you.
Okay.
And the sheriff's department, is not putting in any funds. Like I said, we tried for the Walmart grant. That they do have community grants through Walmart. We tried for it, but
I move
no
we
such
accept
luck.
this as presented, and we can discuss it more than we'd like.
I'll second that motion.
Been moved and seconded to approve the RETAC grant from Custer County EMS and the RETAC grant from the Custer County Sheriff's Office. The amounts for Custer County Sheriff, $1,765, and the EMS grant, $1,500. Any further discussion?
And Mr. Prince, that's information for all 3 of you to keep and to look at. That's what's telling you what is approved through the RETAC, what, kind of what isn't, what the RETAC funds are used for.
It would be, I was just going to say, it would be helpful prior to, whenever we do this again, if you can
Correct.
shoot this information to us ahead of time, then we'll have a chance to.
And usually that's
Review that.
what happens. And then I thought your meetings were done for this month, so
did we.
so I was gonna
were
wait
hoping.
until the next, in February, but then I realized as I was working with Brandon Chambers for the ambulance inspections that there was a meeting, so we kind of threw it together. I do apologize. I usually get those to Brenda for you
not a
to
problem.
review ahead of time.
Thanks for what you do.
So while we vote and do whatever, you guys breathe a little bit because you've been running and gunning here recently, haven't you?
And then I also have the ambulance inspection to
Okay.
go over with you guys.
Any further discussion, gentlemen? Comments from the public? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor of approving these 2 grant applications, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion, or opposed? Nay. Motion carries. Been accepted, and I will sign those for you, and then we can move on to your next.
So the next one, and I'll just kind of start here, there's a letter attached to it. So years past, even though we aren't under the county for our ambulance service, the county commissioners are the ones that signs our license in order to be in fully operating ambulance service here in Custer County. So what happens is, when I came on in 2014, the previous manager was doing all of the ambulance inspections for us and sending that information to you. When she departed ways, we decided to reach out to Brendan Chambers, who is the regional RETAC coordinator, to do our ambulance inspections, and this will be his 3rd year that he's done them for us. We would like to continue using him as our ambulance inspector. He
Where
does.
is he?
He's the office is located out of Pueblo, but I believe he lives in Fowler or Rocky Ford.
Really?
It's actually a service as part of the RETAC, so we don't actually
You don't
technically
have to
pay
pay for
him for him.
Cool.
Thank you, gentlemen, on that one. So he comes up yesterday, and you'll see that there's only 2 ambulances there. Med4 is currently in Golden, Colorado, getting remounted. That was part of the state grant.
Just ask if there's any problems. Did they run into?
There's a few things he made comments, but we were able to replace, like there was batteries were dead in one of our flashlights. We immediately replaced those batteries. So anything that he came across, we were immediately able to replace it, but nothing major, just some minor things. An ET tube that was expired, we replaced it immediately. So nothing major. He did sign them to be fully operating. So usually what you do, and this is what it kind of looks like, you would sign that and then you send this to him. I believe Brenda has all the forms, and he signs everything and then he sends it back to me. We have ambulance permits that we laminate and we put inside each of the ambulances, and then our certificate hangs in the ambulance bay showing that we are a licensed service for Custer County. Med4 will be inspected once we get it back. We're looking at the end of March, beginning of April. It's a 3 to 4 month process for Peak Motor Coach to remount that for us. So once we get that back and we get it fully stocked back properly and in order, then I will contact him to come up and inspect Med4. So we'll kind of have to go through it again in a few months. But
What's an OPA kit?
an OPA kit is an oropharyngeal airway.
I knew that.
So it's this plastic thing that you stick in the mouth to open the airway. We were ordering them as full-size kits. He did bring up a good point. If we open that kit, they're not individually wrapped in those kits. So if we open that kit, we've contaminated all of them now. So I will place an order today to get individual wrapped ones. He was okay with leaving them on our ambulances for the time being until I could get those ordered.
So just looking at I just went to the comments. It looks like the minor deficiencies they found, anomalies have all been fixed, right?
Correct.
I'm fine with this, that we've done this before, and this is the appropriate thing to do.
And who will be the signature on representing the agency?
Either myself or Delwyn.
So do we need a motion to accept the report and the certification for the ambulance?
I wouldn't think so.
Or is it just
but
a report?
I think it would be more of an informational item myself, but
Sounds like it to me.
you do not need us to sign any of that paperwork, correct?
No.
But if I may, I'd like to comment that looking at those reports, it looks like you guys have done a wonderful job. There's a few very minor things were immediately corrected, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
And you ran out of here earlier. I hope whoever that is okay.
They were, thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Appreciate it. Thank you for coming back.
Yes, thank you.
Through that.
Thank you to see that.
Thank you. I'll just leave all of this with Brenda. She keeps it on file, so if you guys have any
Thank you.
questions, and I have a copy of this one this year.
Thank you.
Okay.
New survey discussion with IT department. Mr. Rob, welcome. Thank you for your work on the live streaming and
Yeah.
Good morning, thank you very much.
Nice to
We
meet
can
you.
look at ourselves
you.
there, Tom. How's it going?
Yeah, it's going out there.
Looks like it.
Definitely going out there.
Any comments back from your spies?
Just that they're out. It's out on YouTube.
Choppy,
Is it?
but we don't know if it's because we've got a bunch of people watching it on the same internet line as it's going out.
In the same place.
So we're gonna have to look at it afterwards and see if it was recorded choppy or if it's just choppy because of
We
what's
may
going
be
on.
moving
But it's,
perfect.
and just, split second and a word is,
garbled a little. Okay.
it's
Other than that, the sound was okay? I knew there was some concern about that.
Yeah.
It's picking
And
everybody up.
we're having a trouble.
I do?
Yes.
All right,
And
I'll see.
it's not working with Internet Explorer properly. It works fine with Google Chrome and the other ones, but we've already sent them an email.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Well, good morning. Thank you for hearing this proposal. I don't know if how many people are, if everyone was aware. On December 1st of 2017, there was a catastrophic failure of the Custer County Courthouse server. The failure resulted in a shutdown of key databases, backups, and scanning used to maintain all the county operations here. 24 man-hours were devoted to transferring those operations to backup drives and redirecting all the computers that needed to be redirected. And, excuse me, then Monday morning, that failure happened Friday afternoon at the end near the end of business. So not a whole lot was affected, but if it had actually happened during normal business operations, or let's say on a payday or something like that, the results monetarily would have been huge, and it would have...
Hang on, it happened about noon or something
excuse
like
me.
that.
Okay.
So we were down Friday afternoon.
Okay.
So our the issue that we're facing here is that the server is about 6 years old. The motherboard has failed, as mentioned, and then 2 hard drives have failed on other occasions. Then after that, the fan malfunctioned, and so now it has to run without a cover to make certain that nothing overheats inside of there. The failure happened after the 2018 IT budget was approved, and so that's why we are presenting this to everyone right now, so that we can. The proposal is to buy a new server to meet or exceed the design specifications that we've got right now, and to bring everything up to current industry standard. We're looking at $2,700 to cover the server machines. The server machine, the drives, and the new operating system to provide support up to 25 users. And so that's, the other issue is that our current operating system loses support from Microsoft in 2020. So the idea was to push out the server replacement until we knew what was going to go on with our financial management program, but it doesn't look like that we will be able to do that at this point. So.
And you currently have 19 computers on that server now.
Yes, 19 computers, and we're about to add two more users onto that. Yes.
So that would just leave you with 6 additional as the county grows. Is that sufficient to have in reserve? Would we want to make it maybe
actually
30
would
or 40
drop
users?
just to 4. So we're using what's called the Windows Essentials server, which is it's like the light version. It's if we wanted to upgrade it to handle more, then we would actually have to buy the server edition, and then buy how much is it per cal? It's a client license. It's significantly a large amount of money. This would actually, because we still have Windows Server on the old server, if there was a condition where we reached that level, we could actually find a way to incorporate the two. So
we're not limiting ourselves.
We're not
to
limiting
25
ourselves. No.
Without having a major new expense.
Exactly.
Got it.
How many's on the old server?
Right now, there's 19.
And is this within your budget?
So it's. I'm reviewing the budget. I'm learning the budget right now.
I did the budget.
The short answer is no.
The short answer is no. Yeah, it was.
I was kind of optimistic. I thought we might be able to get another year out of it, and we would find out about if we're going to ever move the financial applications to another. Because we keep talking about that, and I didn't want to spend the money on a server if we were going to have to buy a huge big one for our financial systems, because then we could put everything on that one server.
Right.
But I don't know if that server's going to last. We might be able to squeeze another year, but we're going to have to replace parts of it. And I don't know that replacing the financial systems is on the horizon because of the cost, conversion, and buying a new system and all that kind of stuff. So that will have to be decided with you guys, and then the assessor, the treasurer, and the clerk.
Is your recommendation to go ahead and make this change?
Yes.
For us to find the money and to do this to make
Yes,
sure
indeed.
that we don't have a catastrophic failure.
The recommendation is to do it as soon as possible, so that we can do the changeover as we're able to, rather than in an acute situation, an emergency acute situation.
And how much money?
$2,700 would cover the whole server installation.
Yeah, I spoke with Donna Hobby, and she recommended we consider taking the money out of capital improvement fund. I think there's 31,000 in there.
Yeah, there is.
So
Okay.
that's kind of where we stand. And then I visited with these gentlemen a little bit yesterday. This conversion, if and when we need to go to a different system to handle our accounting package, we're talking $200,000.
Yeah.
Really?
Ridiculous sums.
Yeah.
Brutal.
That's licenses and.
The licenses and the conversion is
Converting that data.
Especially the assessor data would have to be converted over. It's possible we could say, okay, the financial system we're just going to cut off and we use the old ACS system for old stuff and the new system for the new stuff. But the assessor data we can't do that with because he has to keep his history and ownership changes and all that fun stuff. So.
Well, I would move that we approve the $2,700 for a new server machine, that expense coming out of capital improvement.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the $2,700 for a new server, the drives, and the operating system. Further discussion or questions?
I'm just concerned, and I voiced this a second ago, but let me just ask one more time because I just want to make sure I got my head wrapped around this right. We spend the $2,700 and we hire 6 more people. We don't have to buy a new server again?
No.
If you go over the 25, yeah, we'll have to buy a second server.
Okay.
Unless we take somebody off of it.
No, okay.
Yeah, if we go over 25 users.
That's my point.
I mean, we're going to have, 4 licenses left after we add these last 2 ones. And they don't even have to be put up. They're 2 over in the clerk's office. And they're currently not on the server, but they probably should be. But I mean, you'd have to add 4 more people.
I understand.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking in the future. If we bought a server that handled, say, 30 people or 35 people now instead of this one, what would the incremental cost be? Or am I not understanding this very well?
I don't know that we came up with that cost.
Okay,
It would be
and that's
significant more because you'd have to move up to the next version of the server software, and then you have to pay per user.
Yeah, buy the new
You have
licenses.
to buy a license for each server,
Okay.
and then for each user, and then you can then you can expand, but it would be, I mean, just the standard package is more than.
We understand where we're coming.
And we would also have to, the version of the server software that we're looking at has automatic backups. If we go with the standard package, we would have to buy a separate backup package to back up all the PCs. That's one of the things that this server does.
I'm good with it. I was just
It does file sharing, it does the scanning, and it backs up all the computers.
And for clarity, gentlemen, the extension office, the Health and Human Services, and the Sheriff's Office are not on this server.
No, the Sheriff's Office, the Sheriff's
They have their own
completely
servers.
separate. CSU, the Useful Public Service, and the Human Services is not on here because those are state computers.
Correct.
Yeah,
They are being, the CSU and the Useful Public Service, we are backing those up
Right.
to another device in case they go down. We are not backing up Human Services. Those are strictly state computers. We don't
And
touch.
same with Sheriff's Office, you're not backing that up.
No, the
Oh,
Sheriff's
you are.
is being backed up, but not to.
Not to
They have their own server.
I'm sorry, I meant on this server, you're not backing the Sheriff's
and
Office
and
up.
that server was just replaced last year. We got a grant. Mostly what's on that server is body cam videos. And we got a grant, so we bought a brand new server for them. And then I put everybody on that server for sharing files and stuff like that. So that's a brand new, that's less than a year old.
Right. So, and come back to, Jay, what you were talking about then, if Extension, Human Services, Sheriff's Office, Useful Public Service, if any of those add positions, people, does not affect our server.
No, no. No, we would back them up, but they don't need to share. The only people that we're putting on the server is because they have to share the files with other departments or amongst themselves in that department. They're completely independent of each other, so there's no reason to put them on the server. They don't need to share files with anybody else.
Okay.
So the only thing they share is the scanning.
Okay, good. Any further discussion, questions, public comment? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of authorizing a $2,700 purchase of a new server, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
gentlemen.
I
Appreciate
got a
it.
quick IT question for you, actually, pertaining to email. Would it make sense, and could we have everybody in the county building with the same extension on their email? I'm thinking about if we want to communicate with the Extension, Human Services, we got to go find another email address for them.
If they're willing to pull 2 email accounts, which is not a hard thing to do, absolutely, we could set them up in an email account. It's just that those are state positions,
Right.
and so they have state email accounts.
And if we had a Custer County gov.com email, would it have to be a separate email account for those offices, or would it hit their existing email as well?
No, it wouldn't. No, it would be you could have multiple. One person could have multiple email accounts. So you could have a personal one and a county one and a this and all, and then you can set up your Outlook or whatever you're using to pull all those accounts.
So you could just go to your one
It
email
would pull them all
app.
into your inbox, and they would all be together.
That's how mine's set up.
And your
Yeah,
favorites,
Yeah,
just
but
combine.
yeah, because we can have up to 250 email accounts on our
Outlook.
on our
On our server.
our hosting service, and we're only up to 70 something, I think, right now.
Very good. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much for the work you're doing.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck.
Yep.
Well, I apologize because I misinformed our last item of business in that representative, because I thought we'd be about 10, but Mr. Pickrell, search and rescue business,
Thank you so
welcome.
much. I don't think this is going to take a great deal of time. Let's hope not.
Take as much time as you need.
Darn.
Gentlemen, Custer County Search and Rescue is applying for EMTS provider grant for the replacement of a vehicle. That vehicle is a 1985 Isuzu. I think we've wrung all the use out of that we could get. 85. And what we want to get is a new SUV, 4-wheel drive, high clearance, 4-door. The model and make of that particular vehicle is still being examined, and Larry Weber, our co-captain, is examining those choices. We expect the expense to be about $40,000. Now, what's different with this grant? Last year we obtained a vehicle on a 50/50 grant. We paid $24,000 for our share, and they paid $24,000. This one will be a 90/10 if it's approved. We have our 10% ready to pay if they will provide the other 90%. We think we have a reasonable chance of getting that.
They have a limit on high-end cost.
Oh.
Just got to apply and see what happens.
Exactly. Now, to these grants, we usually attach letters of support. We'll have letters from the sheriff, obviously, from Herfinale County, Suwash, Fremont, Pueblo. We'll have support letters from the Gunnison College SAR team, Wetmore Fire Department. We think it would be significant if we could get approval from this commission saying you support this grant idea, that we really need it and we can put it to use. This vehicle will complete what we need for the interview. Often, well, not often, sometimes we have two missions at the same time. That really complicates things for us because we've sent one group out with our vehicles and they're out there, then comes another call. What do? We start scrambling around getting other people who haven't been called and notified and try to put together a team and get transportation for those guys out there. So we think this vehicle will really improve its use to us. So I've prepared a little letter which is nothing more than an example. If you want to use this, we're certainly glad for you to do that, but I don't claim any artfulness about the letter.
Or pride of authorship.
No. Well, yeah.
Counselor, this is I don't use this term very often, but this is a no-brainer.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how else to say that.
Well, I know, but we have to go through the.
I appreciate
the
you doing it.
Yeah.
So, do you want us to sign any? I mean, assuming my
No, that's
It should
fine.
be
Yeah, we'll
Custer
make a
County
motion.
letterhead, not a
Yeah, I
search and
would-
rescue.
I would-
This is an example.
Yeah, I would appreciate it.
What does EMTS stand for?
I wish you hadn't asked me that. I'm not sure I know.
Got to be emergency medical something. Right?
Yeah, that's what it is. I mean,
Technical
it's in that.
services or something.
It's in that. Go ahead.
Emergency medical technician services. Maybe.
That could be. That could be.
Gentlemen, what's your pleasure here?
I move that we support our search and rescue efforts to secure a new vehicle to replace a antique Isuzu that is not sufficient anymore by signing their support letter.
I second that.
It's been moved and seconded to sign the letter of support for the EMTS grant application. And we will put this on to BOCC letterhead.
Yes.
And sign those.
Give it back to you.
Please.
Yeah. Okay, we'll probably give them to Brenda and she can forward them to you.
Very good.
Further
May I be
discussion?
excused?
I'm sorry I kept you so long.
Yeah,
No,
you
no,
haven't
no.
voted yet.
We're
Haven't
gonna-
voted
We're
yet.
going to vote real quick.
Yeah,
Any
all right.
further
There's
discussion?
not.
Very, public comment? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor of writing a letter of support for the EMTS grant, say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. All right, thank you, sir. Now we can get
Now we can go.
Good to see you, thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
What are you gonna do with that Isuzu now? Sounds like it's got some life left.
Well, yeah,
For somebody, it probably does.
right. Some boy could take a girl to the prom in that, surely.
I have a question.
Yeah, I was going to ask, are you going to auction that off?
If we can't trade it in,
Okay.
if we can't, I mean, it's so much that they're not gonna give us any value for it. And we don't have another
Did you have a question?
search and rescue
just gonna
team that would
clarify
like
what
to
it
have
stood
it.
for.
Where we give it to
Oh.
them, and we'll just sell it.
Yeah, thank you. We got clarification, sir.
It stands for Colorado Emergency Medical and Trauma Service.
Perfect.
So medical and trauma.
So
Got the emergency right.
Yeah. All right, sir, thank you.
Thank you very
Take
much.
care.
Thank you.
Anything else, gentlemen, to come before the group?
Not for me.
Do you have that, do you wanna do the ALP for the sheriff?
Yes, I'm sorry. Oh my gosh, thank you.
That's the one you.
Yeah, we have an annual operating plan for the Sheriff's Department and the USDA, the Forest Service, Pike and San Isabel National Forest, Cimarron and Comanche National Grasslands. This AOP includes $8,700. I do not believe you gentlemen have had a copy of this, so
Nope.
I'll let you look at that real quick. But primarily what this financial plan does is sets up the sheriff's office so that they can draw down on those funds primarily for mileage in patrolling the roads in the state park, or not parks, I'm sorry, I have to read that, Forest Service, yeah, Pike and San Isabel National Forest.
San Carlos.
And so, as well as some local campgrounds. So that is basically a mileage drawdown for the sheriff's department.
When you say mileage drawdown, you're talking about money from their budget?
No, it would come from this $8,700.
Got it.
Yeah. Which is their estimate of what their mileage reimbursement cost will be.
This is pretty much standard. This has been done in the past, and this is, I don't see anything different with this.
So whose money is it?
It's federal money.
And they need our permission to go ask for it?
Actually,
Well,
I
it's
don't
just
even
a-
think
it's-
it requires, does it require a
It
signature?
does require a signature. This is their
Okay, but
operating
Shannon
plan.
has already signed
Yeah.
it, I think, so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just
yeah,
their
I'm just
annual
curious
operating
how-
plan.
Right.
but,
Yeah.
So,
Well, I'll go ahead and I'll move that we approve the annual operating plan between the Custer County law enforcement and the federal government covering the
I'll
vehicle.
second it.
okay. Been moved and seconded to authorize or approve and sign the annual operating plan between the sheriff's department and the USDA, Forest Service, Pike and San Isabel National Forest, Cimarron and Comanche National Grasslands, and the San Carlos Ranger District. Discussion? Public comment? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. I will sign said document and give that to Miss Kelly. And then I think, Kelly, if you want to give that back to Brenda, if you want to look over, make sure we get the wording right, and then we'll get it back to Sheriff Byerly.
Miss Brenda, I see that you sent a few emails this morning. Is there anything that we need to take action on today? I just opened the email, that's why I'm asking.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I move we adjourn this meeting.
Did I ask for public
Seconded.
comment?
Do you want, no, you haven't asked
No.
for a public.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
I'll table
unless
that.
I missed that.
Until they have a chance.
Comments from the public at this time? Hearing none, Chair entertains a motion. to
Okay, now I
adjourn.
get to move it.
All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed nay. Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned.
Don't mind about